Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dan here, and I am joined again by Ryan and Matt. How are you two gentlemen doing?
I'm doing good. I'm here. I see a Sableye. It's very cute. Really freaked me out in prep this week.
There's a
Yeah,
Sable. Oh, that's right. There is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing good as well. How about you, Dan?
I'm also doing well, thank you guys for asking. But we are here to do a very quick recap of the two semifinals matches that happened in the MDL this past week. So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and hop into it. Matt, why don't you go ahead and take this first match where we had Maxwell against Ryan?
Okay, so this one started off with a pretty tough lead matchup for Maxwell. Game one was sort of just a snowball for this Slurpuff in DD mode. The string shot on the Slurpuff was really good. One of the main things that Slurpuff is able to do. The fake tears as well. That combination was really fantastic. I'm assuming the toxicity was scarfed. I don't actually know if it was, but
It
that
was.
yeah, okay. I was gonna say
But
that
I
seems to be
got it.
a common way that he runs that thing, which makes sense. It enjoys using a choice scarf. Um, so being fast enough to outspeed that thing was good. Expanding force just took that out and took the Blacephalon down to red HP, and then kind of just snowballed from there. And I think and the late game Assault Vesta Zoomerl Max was really nice for as kind of a cleanup mon. I think that's kind of that description holds true for both games in this set. I think even though game two, Maxwell, since he knew what you were trying to do, Ryan, he clearly adjusted a bit and gave you a harder time. But it still seemed like he didn't really have a whole lot to actually deal with the Slurpuff in DD mode. Slurpuff in particular, being able to outspeed and string shot everything was really helpful against a lot of the stuff that he has. Just because he has such a hyper offensive kind of team. With the Dracovish being super fast, whether it's Scarf or Sand Rush, and Scarf Toxtricity and Blacephalon's fast and offensive. It was just a really good a really good bring against him. I thought it was a great bit of prep from Ryan, as well as the Azumarill, especially with the Max Steel Spike, was just it was I think it looked really good. It did a lot of what Maxwell had, and was able to pick up a lot of important KOs. Really, the only thing that would have given it a little bit of trouble was the Tangrowth, and I think Ryan, you dealt with that pretty effectively before Azumarill came out, or at least in game two, the Tangrowth was low enough that it didn't really matter and wasn't able to do much. So really great prep from Ryan. Well played. That's about all I got. Dan?
Yeah, I think for me the main things were no Vaporeon and then Azumarill being as good as it is into Maxwell's comp.
Yeah.
Earlier in the season, I was playtesting as Maxwell against Grant for his matchup because he was pretty nervous about that matchup, and he just kept maxing Assault Vest Azumarill in front of me, and I have never lost that many games in a row consecutively because I just chain fed to that thing. Like it is so good into Maxwell's team, and he was able to mitigate it in the regular season by maxing Tangrowth in front of it. But I don't know. Vaporeon just seemed pretty necessary in the matchup just based on how good Azumarill is. And not seeing that was pretty shocking to me. And then I really like the string shot tech as sort of a really powerful way to do some spread speed control off of the Slurpuff. But there was one turn in game one, the turn that the Tapu Lele max, where you really should have string shot instead of going for the fake tears play that turn, I believe. Because the Lele was just going to outspeed the Indeedee, and that just seemed a little greedy on my end, because that way you could get a little more chip on stuff with the Lele, maybe pick up the KO on the Tangrowth as well. I know it protected, but otherwise, I think, Ryan, you played a very clean set with a few other things that I would classify as like obvious misplays. And even that, I don't know if it was an obvious misplay as much as it was a greedy play when it didn't necessarily have to be. But what do you think about your set?
I mean, I was pretty happy with it overall. That turn that you're talking about, I debated string shot. The reason I went for the fake tears there was I really wasn't worried about the Lele at that point. And I was content with Ndidi going down at that point because I knew that the AV Azu took care of everything he had at that point. So my main goal, so if I could get that -2 onto that specially defensive boosted Tangrowth, that felt significantly better for me than because I knew I could kill the Lele with the Azu in the back.
Right.
I knew I could handle the back line. So that play was greedy, but it was intentionally greedy. I was hoping he would go for a sleep powder or something, and I would be able to come in with full price and just wipe his team basically.
I was talking about game 1, not game 2.
Oh, that was game 1.
You didn't. You had Marowak in game 1, I thought, and not Moltres. You brought
Oh, I
Moltres
did
for
have
game
Marowak.
2.
Yeah, you're correct. I probably should have gone for the fake tears that game because I was forgetting I had Marowak and Moltres.
Okay.
But
that
regardless, yeah, the other misplay was I should have protected Moltres on the last turn of game 2. It didn't matter, but in theory, I should have done that. I should have predicted a protect on Tangrowth. I was expecting a Rage Powder or a Sleep Powder, so I went for the Starfall into the slot, and then he exploded and protected. But I thought a -2 explosion wouldn't do that much. It did a lot more than I thought it would. So it ended up making some of that RNG in game 2 matter. So I would say those were kind of the two turns I'd sort of take back. Otherwise, I don't really have any major complaints.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like a very clean set, top to bottom. And I know both of you sort of were prepping last minute for the set, so they might have played a part of it. But you both had a lot of familiarity with one another, so it was pretty clean counter teaming. But again, I think the biggest thing I took away from that was like Vaporeon would have been solid in the matchup.
Yeah, I had tough for Vaporeon, but
I'm curious, Dan, what do you think Vaporeon would have actually done? Because it seems to me like it can tank water hits just fine, of course, because it's got water absorb, but it's still getting hit pretty hard by a Play Rough or a Max Starfall, and even if it wants to take a hit and click Yawn or something, Max Azumarill is just setting Misty Terrain, so I'm not sure if Vaporeon would have really been able to do all that much.
It has Charm, doesn't it?
It gets Charm.
Oh, okay.
But I actually teched my Azumarill to outspeed most Vaporeon sets, so my Azumarill
I was gonna say,
my Azumarill had like 196 speed for it.
Yeah, because you wanted to outspeed stuff after String Shot anyway, right?
Well, it was for that, and also it was for that, but even without a String Shot boost, I wanted my Azumarill to outspeed both Tangrowth and Vaporeon. So I gave it a lot of speed investment because I figured Trick Room, there's no way Trick Room was going up the set, and I knew that going in.
Gotcha.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's go ahead and talk about the second semifinal match. Ryan, why don't you take the lead on this one?
All right, so this is you two. Matt beat Dan. Looking at the matchup here, you see Matt bring in Ludicolo without the Rain Setter, which is ominous. On Dan's side, you see that Azelf, Tangela, Torn, Prim, Arcanine core that served really well, and the Purloin, which I really liked here in that last slot for that extra utility. Matt has a very threatening team into a lot of this, though. On paper, you look at this, and I think Matt has a bit of a typing disadvantage, but in practice, he really didn't. So, we're going on to the next slides. Woot. By the way, on the previous match, Maxwell left notes. If you want to pause and read those for the last game, feel absolutely free to. I don't know, we just didn't read those out loud, so. Moving on, the Ludicolo put in a lot of work game 1. It was a own tempo Ludicolo with a self-swagger proc with the Koba Berry, which was required to Oko the Torn with the Max Hellstorm, because otherwise Torn lived the hit. from like a special Ludi. Isn't that correct, everybody? I didn't screw that up.
Yes,
Yes.
Tornadus lives a
Okay.
hit from Life Orb Special Ludi.
Yeah. So I thought that was really brilliant. I really liked it too because the own tempo stops the intimidate that's coming in. Dan has a lot of intimidate mons that really helps offset that weakness of running a physical mon into his team. So I really liked that. I really liked when Dan adjusted to the Azelf in game 2. I thought that was correct because you kind of see that. I thought game 2 overall was a whole lot closer. But I think what Matt did was really smart. He basically just stalled that mid game. He was setting T waves. He was hitting a couple spirit breaks to kill a couple, get some damage off, some chip. And the mid game TR with the Audino was huge. Getting the Audino in both games was actually pretty huge. I know everybody's like freaking out because of how cool that Ludicolo was, but actually the ability for you to set that TR in both games to get your speed advantage, I thought was like absolutely pivotal to you winning. So huge props on that. Bringing your tier 5 both games in the semifinals is a little bit of a riskier play, but it paid off really well here.
Tier
Maxwell
4.
left some
Tier 4.
right. Maxwell left some notes. He can't be here. Basically same things. The T-Wave was pretty massive, and I would agree. You just didn't have enough damage or bulk to kind of overcome that speed advantage that Matt was gaining. It's not very often you see someone T-Wave down a team and then sit Trick Room. That was funny. Usually you don't do it that way, but it worked out. Yeah, I think Dan adjusted really well game 2, and had the RNG been a little bit nicer, I think he had a pretty good shot at winning game 2 and taking it to a game 3. But kind of the trend for both games was a pretty dominant game 1, and then a game 2 with a little bit of luck on the side of the winner secured it. That was how both of these kind of played out, both sets.
Yeah, the turn we're talking about, game 2, I did some calcing on it and my math might be a little wrong, but I think the double up that I chose into the Audino, knowing now that it didn't have Mental Herb, Taunt was probably just the play, but I assumed it had Mental Herb and that the Sash was going to be on the Crobat. So I don't think the play was wrong because the double up had, depending on the defense bulk stats, was between like a 52 to 59% chance to kill. So not odds that I obviously want to bet on consistently, but one where I don't think I made the incorrect play, even if it didn't work out in my favor that game. But yeah, honestly,
Right.
turn 1, when I saw the Cobra Berry trigger on Ludicolo, I'm like, okay, so I lose this one, and let's just plan on bringing the Azelf into game 2, because I knew I was just going to die to a hailstorm at that point, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. And then there was just going to be a max Ludicolo, and I guess theoretically I could have read the Protect on the Ludicolo and targeted the Arcanine and hoped that a Thunder Wave missed, and that was probably the correct play in game 1. Arcanine into Grimmsnarl. But I don't know, I was just in a very bad position. That game, actually thinking about it, that was 100% the correct play, because then I could start trying to spread my own Thunder Waves. But I don't know if Grimmsnarl had the Sash, for example, and then it wouldn't have mattered. But game 1, he 100% out-prepped me with that lead, and there wasn't really much that I could do about it. And then game 2, yeah, there was a little bit of RNG, but low-key the Airstream, the last turn of Trick Room, to get the speed advantage outside of Trick Room was huge, because that Primarina I was running was incredibly fast. And I kind of want to share with Matt how I came to the speed stat for that. In our regular season matchup, he built his Celesteela with the assumption that I would make Primarina outspeed Raichu under Tailwind by 1 point. So he built Celesteela to outspeed Raichu under Tailwind, what I would have to beat Raichu under Tailwind by 1 point as well. So if I needed, say, 86 speed to outspeed Raichu under Tailwind, he gave it 87 speed. Well, now he had Crobat. So my first thought is, okay, to outspeed Crobat, I need to be at 101 speed stat under Tailwind. But Matt knows that, so he's going to make it 102. But he knows that he told me that, so he knows that I would think 103, so he's going to make it 104. So I put it at 105 speed, just trying to mind game him, and then he ran 27 speed IVs on the Celesteela instead, and did not try to outspeed it at all. But that's where the fast pre-marina set came from. But Matt,
Man,
I'll
that was
pass
a
it off to
lot.
you.
That was a lot. Hold on a moment. Like, let's talk about that for a second. When I played Burst, I just went, wait a minute. My Marowak was slower than a Rhyperior, and I just put it at 0. That was like a whole voodoo ritual there. All right, Matt, that's off to you. What the? Okay.
Yeah, the speed creeping mind games were very weird. I did build some specific speed stats on some Pokemon. Some Pokemon were meant to be slow, some were meant to be fast. Yeah, the Celesteela was, um, it was designed to be slow-ish, because I knew that I wanted to use it in Trick Room. But I also knew that it could possibly benefit from some other type of speed control later on, because especially because I knew I was running Air Slash, which I had the same moveset against Dan the first time we played, except I had Giga Drain instead of Air Slash. I mostly went with Air Slash this time because I was not confident that my Celesteela was going to be the max option every time. So if it wasn't, I was only actually going to have one chance to fire off a one-turn rock move, and I wanted to be able to hit Arcanine with something else inside of Trick Room if I really needed to, in case he protected on my Meteor Beam while I was eating the Power Herb. But yeah, I ran my Celesteela just one point slower than neutral speed Tangela, just for Trick Room purposes, since there's nothing else I could really be slower than. And I was pretty confident he wouldn't bring a min-speed Tangela, so I felt pretty comfortable with that. That was the fastest I could make it while still underspeeding what I wanted to underspeed, so that I could take advantage of multiple kinds of speed control, which actually came into play. So I'm pretty happy about that decision.
Yeah. I liked the set a lot. I thought it was a really clean set. I thought the adjustment by Dan was great. I just think that ultimately it just came down to a couple key turns, and I think Matt being able to stall that momentum in game 2 is what helped him secure it. We have a third thing of notes there that is some sort of alien code. Maybe,
I believe it's
someone can
Wingdings.
translate it. I'm pretty sure it's Wingdings, but then I don't want anyone like memeing about Wingdings and Undertale in the comments section, because I've had enough of that over my life.
Oh, it's not your comment section.
True. Maxwell, you got to deal with it. We put Wingdings on your slide. Deal with it. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. Finals is going to be Matt and I for next week. The plan is to have Dan and Maxwell live commentate it. After the game is done, I'm going to send them a recording to live commentate, and that will be the final sort of breakdown of the season. So I think that's pretty much it. So any final thoughts?
I don't believe I have anything else.
Yeah, I think that'll be it. We'll see you guys. Right. Ryan and I will see you guys in finals.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick his ass. Let's go.
Yeah, the prophecy must be fulfilled. And with
there
that,
is a prophecy.